Hey friends, how you doing? We're making some progress on this Fender Bassman Bogan amplifier. I want to give you an update as to where I am. So you'll see that I've cut the chassis here, and I've mounted the main transformer, and that's nice and secure. And we'll take a look at that at the bottom. I've got the two tube sockets for the 5881s. I've got the rectifier tube, the GZ34, and I have two tube sockets mounted for the 12AX7s. I don't have the 12AY7 yet. I need an adapter to use this hole, so that'll be here in a couple of days. So so I've got that mounted, and let me flip it over and show you what I have on the other side. Okay, you could see here the transformer's mounted, and I obviously have one screw here that I wasn't able to attach to anything. I'll put a metal brace here just to keep that secure, but the transformer's mounted nicely. And you'll see that, let me start from the 6.3 volt. So I've got the 6.3 volt wires coming out twisted, going to a terminal strip right here. And then I have a pair of wires running back right here, which go to the 5881 heaters. And that's pins 2 and pin 7. And you'll see that I've got them neatly connected and out of the way, low to the chassis. And I've got the twists, obviously. And then coming off of the same 6.3 volt leg, I have another wire that's going to come here, that's going to go to the 12AX and AY7 tubes right here. And I've got that flapping in the breeze at the moment because I don't have that third tube installed. But what I did do here is I wired these two 12AX7s, and they go to pin 9, and then you have to jumper pin 4 and 5. And I just came back here, same thing here. And then this wire will go to this other tube, and so will that one when the tube is installed. So I've got that in place. And then looking at the rectifier tube, I simply have my my yellow and my blue and my red going to the tube there, and I do have one yellow wire that comes off of here, which will go to the point-to-point wiring when I get that done. The rest of the wires coming out of here are really simple. So the black ones go to your power plug. This orange one is for the standby switch, okay? And then this green and this red are your center taps for your 5 and your 6.3 volt. So I've got those tucked aside for the moment. You'll see here that I've got everything pretty much routed fairly neatly. Again, I'll have to clean up these wires. And then I have this black wire here which goes through the top, and that's for the pilot lamp. In this amp, I think I told you this already, and I'll probably mention it again, that the pilot light is on the cover, the metal cover. So we're gonna maintain that part of the amp and not put a standard jewel here like we normally would do on a Fender amp. So I'm going to keep that part of it, which I think is a cool change. So one last thing to mention on these 12AX7 tubes, I wanted to use rivets to connect them. And I never had used a rivet before, never had a rivet gun, so I went out and bought one. It was pretty simple, actually. It works really good. They're nice and secure in there. And I've got some good ground contact, so I use rivets on these. So that was a first for me to ever use a rivet gun. And last thing I'm going to show you before I actually power this thing up and see if I have filament glow is I did find this really cheap turret board on Amazon for like $3 or something, so I got it. So I may figure out how I could use that in here, or I'll use those two terminal strips that I told you about. So that's the update. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect this thing to power, and we're going to see if we have any filament glow. Okay? After I get done with that, I'll spend the rest of the day laying out how I'm going to hand wire this thing, and I could start that process because I've now got all the filaments done. Of course, this last tube will be a challenge until I get that in, but that's easy. And then I'll figure out where I have to mount the output transformer and the choke. And the last thing I need to do is figure out what I'm going to do with that selenium rectifier. I have to figure out how I'm going to wire that thing. I have diodes to do it. I know I need diodes and resistors, and I'll have to do some research on that. Okay? Just to kind of recap here. So I've got the filaments connected here, the yellows and the reds you'll see right here to the rectifier tube. That's pin 8 and pin 2, and then I have one going to pin 4 and pin 6 on the rectifiers. 5881s, the heaters are where the X's are, so that's pin 2 and pin 7, and obviously there's another one right here. And then the 12AX7, you'll see that there's an X on 9 and 4 and 5. Same thing here. And this tube will have it when that's connected as well. I've got all that done. I also have a wire that goes to the pilot light. And you'll see that the X's come off the pilot light correspond to the X's going to these tubes. That means that everything's connected together. Okay? And there's the selenium rectifier that I need to figure out. And that is, see this wire here that says red and blue? That's actually this wire right here. And let me show you what the transformer schematic looks like real quick, just to make it interesting. So here's the main transformer. So you'll see here's the two 6.3 volt legs, and there's the center tap. And then I've got the 5 volt leg right here. And then I have right here the 650 volt section. And you'll see that there's two wires here. There's a red and yellow, which is the center tap, and then there's a red and green. And the red and green is what goes over to the selenium rectifier, just like we said. Okay, and that is I actually showed you the wrong wire. Here's the red and green. It's right here. That goes to the selenium rectifier. All right, so so that's where we are. I'm going to continue on my layout, and I'll come back and give you an update when the time is appropriate. All right, let me go wire this thing up, and we'll see how it goes with the filaments. Be right back. Okay, now that we have it wired, I'm going to check the filaments. So what I'm expecting to see are these filaments light up here on these two 12AX7s. And obviously the pilot light, and if you recall, the pilot lamp actually attaches to the steel cover. And then I've got my rectifier tube, which is the 5 volt, and then I have my two 5881 tubes here, which are 6.3. From a wiring perspective, I obviously have a hard wire going directly to a plug for the power. This goes to the standby switch, so I have it taped off. This goes to the circuit board that I have to, or at least the hand wiring that I have to do. These two wires are the center taps for both the 5.0 volt and the 6.3 volt, and they actually just go to ground. So I've got a Gata wire going to ground. And then I have this yellow wire here, which is taped off, coming off of the rectifier tube, and that's another connection that goes to the point-to-point wiring. One last thing I should mention, obviously, because I didn't put in the third 12AY7 tube, I've just connected the 6.3 volt here with some wire nuts. When that tube socket gets put in, then these get wired together. So I haven't brought this up yet. I've got my my isolation transformer and my Variac, and we're going to start at 0. I've got it plugged in. I'm going to turn it on. So I'm going to focus over here on the light. We'll see if we get anything. So I'm going to go up to 30 volts first. And we've got a little glow. That's good news. Cool. I'll let that bake for just a second. Alright, let's go up a little bit. We'll go up to 60. Let's see what happens. We've got much brighter light there. I think I see some filament glow in there. It's hard to tell with these tubes because they have a silver coating on top, but I do see a filament glow inside that tube. Let's see if we see anything on the 12AX7s. I don't know what happened there. Alright, let's go up just a little bit. I'm going to go up to 100. So 100, I have a nice bright glow. I definitely have filament there, you can see it there. My rectifier looks good. And on my 12AX7s, I do see a filament glow. You see that orange right there? Cool. Alright, so that tells me that I've got all my heaters wired correctly. And now I'm going to take this thing down and start working on it. So that's the update for today. I'll have to start figuring out where I'm going to put the terminal blocks and the turret boards and all that stuff, and start to get this thing populated. But we're doing good. All right, this is Ron.